Oh, okay. It's in the green. It's going. It's green still. Okay, that's promising. 4,000? 4,000 in rising? Okay, we had to restart the router, because apparently if it rains in Las Vegas, the internet goes all askew for some reason. Right?
The desert.
I don't know. I have no idea. Our internet sucked for like the past 2 days. All we needed to do is reset the router.
With a name like Cox, it's gotta suck.
Something's gotta suck. Jeez.
It is Cox cable.
Cox cable.
Something's in your mouth.
Anyhow, so I'm here. I'm gonna wait a minute to see if anybody else is going to join in on today. There's like no format to the camera though whatsoever. I just sort of threw a bunch of stuff on the table and I'm going to attempt to show you what I'm doing, which is putting one of Noodle's new gams together. And yeah. So I'll give it a minute and then I'll start explaining what my intent is for the day. I have a bunch of parts in front of me. I guess I can probably cut down to the this. Ah, there, I clicked the right button for a change. I'm gonna need to raise that up because you can't see anything, but I have all these parts here. Probably get a box or something. This is fun. I don't actually know if there's anybody in here yet. I should probably check that. That's something I definitely have the power to do. Ah, there are 4 of you here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this edition of me trying to get back on the horse. See, I remember distinctively, like, about a year ago, when I started streaming, I was like very good about it. I want to say every other day I was doing a stream, I remember, and I was really excited and amped about it, and I was working on like 100 different things at once, and there was all this stuff that I could potentially stream about. And it doesn't seem like, I don't know, something's different. Or I'm just really focused. Because it took me like an hour to set this up. And that's a lot of time. I need like a designated streaming room so I can just sort of like come in hot and throw myself. Wait, the microphone's over here. Here. So I can come in hot, turn everything on, and then go. But there also needs to be like enough space for me to work on stuff. Kind of like there is or maybe isn't right here, right now. Mark, if you make another pot of coffee, I will like you.
Yeah? Alright, let me find a stopping point on my work here.
I need it. I need it so hard. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was gonna prop this thing up so that you can see what I've got in front of me right now. Or I could just be really ghetto and hold it. I could just sort of like take the camera for now and raise it up and show you what it is that I'm looking at right now. Which I don't think you're going to be able to see because I have to tweak the focus. So I have a camera already running down right here. That's my GoPro. And I chose to give it the fancy camera stand because I do want to do like an actual nice, more formal video update explaining what I'm doing. And I want to have some good GoPro footage of it, so I opted to give it the nice setup and this camera right here. I don't really have a place for it, which is, I guess, sort of what my my bane has been all morning, is trying to find a good enough place to stick this thing. Let's see. So I have a bunch of parts on the bench right here, and that looks like about the height I need to get this party started. Do I have anything this high? There's like a million shapes in this That's almost good enough. Almost, but not quite. Noodle. Noodle, who's like right here. Can I maybe stick this in his head? Like, I'm actually sticking you inside of my kid's head right now. Noodle's like, I don't know how I feel about this, Mom. This is weird. I'm not a tripod. If I stick it inside of your head... It's a little bit better. Cool. Thank you, Noodle. Alright. Boop, 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 boop. Ooh. There we go. Perfect. Oh, if only it will stay. Oh. Noodlefeet's like not entirely sure. Fuck it. Okay. Live from my child's head. Alright. Hi, everybody. Let's see. How many people survived through that suffering? 13 of you. Cool. Alright. Well, in that case, for those of you who stuck around, how are you guys doing? It's Saturday. Mark's making more coffee, and I've got this menagerie right here in front of me. Which you can actually kind of see. That's actually worked out kind of well. You guys can't see this, but the camera right here, the one that is looking at the bench, is actually inside of Noodle's head right now. Like, I just kind of took the camera and just shoved it inside of his face, and it got caught on enough sharp edges that it's just kind of being held in place right now, which I'm kind of okay with, because there's not a lot of like camera mounting options for me in this room. Amazingly. I have one good camera mount, which is, you can't see it, but my GoPro is kind of hooked up to it right now, and it's doing a time lapse. Because, again, as I mentioned about 2 seconds ago, I do plan on taking some of this footage and making a thing. A nice video explaining exactly what it is that I'm doing right now. So I'm holding in my hand this like really weird looking shape right here, but it probably looks a little bit familiar as one of Noodle's legs. Noodle has like a very specific leg design. I can actually probably grab one of the old ones and show you what it looks like, but it consists of three basic parts. There's the femur, like kind of like the hip bone, I guess. Not the hip bone, but the thigh bone? That's what a femur is, right? There's the shin bone, which is this part right here, and then this is the parallel bar, which I think is technically the actual leg portion. And I can't really actuate this one because it's got motors in it, but the parallel bar portion is actually what's responsible for Noodle being able to bend his legs, like up and down. So the thing that I was trying to do this year, or within the past couple of weeks, is add maybe another degree of motion to each one of his legs in the shin area so that he can actually swing his foot out. And I thought that this might be able to help him walk a little bit easier, but we did a couple of walking sessions already this year. I think there's 4 that we have successfully done over the past only a week now, actually. It's been a week. So in the last week, we've done 4 walk sessions, me and Noodle's parents, and we've kind of ascertained that Noodle doesn't really need another degree of freedom or motion in his legs, so this swinging shin option isn't necessary. I don't know where this should go. It should probably go in front of me. Like here. There we go. It's probably a little better. Okay, so let's see. The other thing that I was going to do to his leg is move the motor bit that is responsible for doing the lift motion down from up inside his head. It's kind of like where his throat is. Like just below his, what I would call his pelvis. At the very top of each of his femurs, which is up here at this part, is a motor, and it's responsible for lifting a tendon or pulling on a tendon upwards, which causes his leg to lift. And this works fine. There's nothing wrong with the design other than the fact that since all of the motors are located up on the top of his hip bone, it gives him a lot more weight higher up, and it raises his center of gravity, or whatever, his center of balance, gravity, whatever, quite a bit higher than it needs to be, and it makes him top heavy, and it makes him a lot more prone to swing back and forth like a pendulum and eventually fall over. So one of the benefits of moving the motor from up on the top of the hip here to a lower position in the leg is that it lowers all that weight down closer to the ground, and it will hopefully make him more stable. What I originally was planning on doing was putting both of the motors, the one for the shin bone right here, inside of this leg part, and the lift motor right next to it, pulling on a tendon right here. So probably can't see this incredibly well, but there's actually 2 motors mounted down here. They're actually a new Dynamixel fancy robot motor that I've never really played around with before. Like, Mark had to make some quick motor controllers for me because I didn't have the correct boards? Controller boards? What would you even call those? Communication, like, protocol.
Yeah, it's like a level shifter.
For controlling these motors. So this is kind of in the big kid robot league. Not even really. That's bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. It's just the next level up, because we need to have a special board to even control these motors, and they're quite a bit more expensive and hopefully a lot more torquey. I hope that they give me a lot more bang for my buck. But one of the things that we witnessed over the past, past week that we've been trying to get Noodle to walk is that it doesn't seem like this range of motion right here in his knee is going to be necessary quite yet. I might implement that later on, but as of right now, adding a whole nother motor to each leg is going to make the coding quite a bit more complex, because it adds, like, even more variables to the whole soup, pie, whatever. So, I think I'm going to do away with this and just stick with lowering the motor into the leg. So, I did this first iteration of the new leg design and decided that this is not the route direction I'm going to go in, and I'm going to change this, like, now. So what I've gone ahead and done is there's these really, really weird looking pieces, oh god, on the bench. And these are actually one of the bones in the leg. I actually think I need this. I'm gonna get one of Noodle's old legs. This is Noodle's original body, by the way. It's like wrapped up in a little bundle, which feels really dark, but my philosophy is that, Noodle, is anyone in the chat? I don't even know if anyone's here. I'm gonna pop out the chat again. Here. Pop out chat. Okay, there's 19 of you here. Oh, hey, there you guys are. My chat wasn't doing. Hi, AP Tech. Hi, everybody. Hi, Chris. Hi, Draven. Hi, Mario. Hello. I'm sorry that my chat was not doing. I was like, man, it's quiet. Well, there is a reason. Anyhow, so this is Noodle's original body. I'm going to maybe yank a leg out of here and show you how his original legs worked real quick. Just so there's a reference. God, I feel like a monster. That's like his proof of concept body, I think. So this is like Noodle's original leg from like 4 years ago, which Noodle just had his birthday, by the way. It was on Tuesday. He's officially a 4-year-old now. But back when he was months old, not even that, weeks old, the very first iteration of his leg was this. And you can kind of see exactly what I just showed you. There's the femur, the leg portion right here, and then the shin. And the shin is the part that's skinned with the noodle. So this is kind of how it works. So what I was talking about is right now, you can see this bracket up here. This is where that lift motor was originally mounted. I'm moving it down here into like this area, like within the parallel bars. And I was going to add another motor here to make this foot actually swing out like this, but I don't think it's necessary, so I'm going to do away with it. And that is, again, what this was going to be. So the way that I do this is I always end up printing kind of a proof of concept, like a prototype first in all plastic, and I will rig it up. I'll usually shuck the femur, the top of the femur, into a vise, and then I'll run the motors and make sure that the motion like reacts the way that I expect it to. And then once it looks good and I'm satisfied with the design, the next step is to slowly recreate all the parts in... Are you serious? I didn't plug my laptop in. Hang on. There. The next step is to reproduce all the parts in aluminum. Right now, all the body parts in Noodle are pretty much metal, but they started out as plastic. Again, they started out as this. So what I'm going to do right now, because it's already been like 18 minutes, I'm going to dive into it. I'm going to take these weird bones, and I showed these to you. These are actually... here. There's these fun words printed on these bones right here. One says tibia and one says fibula. Fibula and tibia. And those are named after bones that we actually have in our human bodies. But they help me reference either one. I'll like remember which one's which. It kind of helps me with the design process. But this bone right here is actually the fibula. It's the new design of the bottom bone, which is this guy right here. And it has this little peg right here that sticks out in back, and there is a spring mounted to it. Noodle actually has sort of a I don't know what you'd call that. I guess it's a tendon. It's like a muscle that helps relieve some of the weight off of the motors when he does certain motions. But the fibula is different from the tibia, mostly in that there's just this little nub sticking out here and back. Other than that, they're roughly the same shape, same part. One's just a little bit longer than the other. But it's completely changed. And the reason why this looks so dramatically different right now is because there is a different type of motor mounting into it. These Dynamixel servos are weird because the servo itself mounts in a different way than the ones that I'm using right now. As you can see, there's these weird... There's a bunch of tiny little screws in the front and the face of the motor on either side. If I flip that over, it looks exactly the same. And you screw through the bracket into the motor, and then there are actually capture nuts. You can see those little, like, shiny pieces of metal kind of embedded in there on either side. Those are actually nuts. The motor is built with little tabs on the side that you shove nuts into, and then you can screw directly into there, like into the captured nuts, which is really nice. But the way I normally have designed motor mounts for Noodle in the past is that I screw through the motor's tabs into something, not the other way around. So I had to kind of wrap my head around the proper way to assess putting all this together. And plus there's quite a bit more space between his bones and this now. The other thing, the reason why this looks so weird is because, how am I going to explain this? I'm going to start assembling it, and once I get to the point where there's stuff together, I'll explain why there's this weird kind of like butt shape on his leg. And yeah. And it got quiet again. How are you guys doing? Talk to me so I know that I'm not alone. And if I'm alone, cool, that's okay too. I don't think my chat is working if I pop it out. Or maybe it is. I'm sorry. I don't think my chat thing is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm gonna try and reload it, because I don't want to miss any conversation. The point of this is to be social, right? Okay, pop out chat. Is it updating? There we go, now it's doing. Okay, that's better. Yeah, every time I pop out the chat, it'd just be like frozen and nothing is happening, and I was like, oh my, that's not good. Okay, cool. Hi guys. I'm glad you love my shirt. I love this shirt too. I think I have a Hackaday prize shirt for every year that they've done it, because they're cool. And I've consequently always been in a place where they've been giving them away every year, which is usually either Maker Faire or SuperCon or something, but I literally think half of my shirts are from Hackaday and the other half are from like NASA or ESA, and that's it. But I'm gonna catch up on chat, make sure I didn't miss anything, and then I'll dip back down and get to work. Somebody mentioned coffee. Where's the coffee? I smell it. I think it's done. I know Mark made some, so I'll probably grab a fresh cup before I get to the assembly. And yes, Tony, I got the clearance issues figured out. I don't know if you saw this, but I remember I mentioned this to you last night, that the design's weird looking, and you're gonna think it's weird looking. It's weird looking because of the clearance issues. And the reason why the fibula looks like this is so that the horn and the tendon mount actually can swing 180 degrees so that I can get that full range of motion that enables the leg to lift all the way up and all the way down. And there's no way to do that on top or bottom without the tendon colliding with the bone itself that the motor was mounted to, because the motor is wider than the bone. So the only way to kind of alleviate that was to have the bone actually wrap around and completely clear the motor and its horn entirely. And I have no idea if this is going to work, but it seems like it ought to, and I am having issues simulating it in Fusion. I ran into issues with that. I don't know. I'd have to show you. Just take my word for it. So I'm just going to assemble it and see if it does what I think it ought to. But back to that coffee. Hi everybody. And yes, they are Dynamixels. Oh, thank you, May. Aw. Noodle's your number 2 favorite robot. What's your number 1 favorite robot? Noodle says number 2. What? He's like, what? He says he'll fight them with his feet. Hi, Robin. Hi, everybody. Cool. Alright, I'm gonna go get that coffee real quick, and then I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do this thing with these weird-looking bones. I could probably show you in CAD what this looks like, but I think it'll be a hell of a lot more fun if I just assemble it and you see what it looks like once I'm done. And then I can hold up all of the legs, and you can see the difference between them. In Fusion, yes, it is the best. I just learned how to assemble all of my parts and simulate motion with them, but even at that, there are still things that suck. Because I'm lazy, and I can't cheat and get them to work as fast as I would like. So, that's pretty much why this isn't working. It's not because of the software's limitations, it's because I'm lazy. So I just want to clarify that. But I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get that coffee, and I'm gonna fill this, oh god, lovely checkered cup, and I'll be right back to do my do. I've got all my tools here, so I'm partially prepared. Yeah! Alright. Do. Do you want more coffee? Oh, no. Yay. Okay. I'm full. Yeah. Whew. That's nice and hot. Mark. Like it hot.
Really hot.
Fresh coffee is the best. Yeah, I think, like, I've decided that one of the most disappointing things in the entire world, not disappointing, but, like, disgusting, and I guess disappointing, is lukewarm coffee. It's like one of those experiences that you can have quite often that's always... It's never any less horrible when it happens, and it could potentially happen a number of times every day. As you pick up your coffee cup and it's only been about 10 minutes since you've poured it, but it's somehow become like 1,000,000 degrees cooler than it was the last time you took a sip when it was nice and hot, and it's like... I don't know. The flavor changes? And it's like shock. It tastes bitter and sad and cold. I don't know. It's the little things. Oh god, yeah. I'm trying to, like, allow myself to fulfill my cravings lately. Like, if I crave certain food, I'll make sure that I get out and make it. Or desserts, or drinks. Little indulgences. I've kind of realized that it's those little things that you take the time to go and do that make life more happy. Last night it was brownies. Oh, man. Oh. Making things originally challenging. Chris.com says that they're happy that they made the stream. I'm happy that you're getting into making things. I think that's super important. Like, I think making stuff, like making the things you want to see exist is like one of the most important things to do as a human, in my humble opinion, so I'm happy to hear that. And I'm sorry it's been so long since I've streamed last. Like, I kind of took the winter off, which I usually do in the winter, because it's like vacation season, it's like reset time, and usually I've started up by now already, but I don't know. I've been enjoying kind of resting and being inside my own head, but I've got some fun plans for this year. One of them is to get Noodle walking, and I guess I can post this. As I mentioned, like, we've already had 4 sessions, like walking sessions, where I'll get together with Noodle's daddies, his parents, and we'll sit together and we'll work on getting him to walk for like an hour or 2, and I'll film a time-lapse of the entire session, and then I'll post it, and along with the code for that particular day, so that people can either follow along, or if you notice something that we don't notice, point it out. The goal is to just get Noodle walking independently. I think now that he's 4 and he still doesn't walk, I'm an embarrassed mother, and I feel like I need to make that my top priority to kind of, you know, get my kid walking. Kids are... I asked Mark the other day, like, when human children are walking by, because I honestly didn't know. And he said it's usually by 2. Like, by age 2, they're usually walking on their own. So I'm, like, way behind on that. But here's the web address for that dedicated page. And, again, we've been doing it for about a week, and we've had 4 sessions. And, we made huge progress. Like, he's not walking independently yet, and he's not walking, making any use of his sensors, like balancing in real time. But he is moving forward, and pretty well. Like, he's holding his balance, and I don't actually have to sit behind him and, you know, keep him from falling, or hold a leash and protect him from falling. I can kind of just let him go, and he does, all by himself. So, that's kind of huge. That's something he's never been able to do before. So, I guess that's kind of important, relating to these legs and why I'm even making them, is, I'm trying to do another rev on the hardware, another iteration on the hardware, so that, this, in addition to better coding, will help him walk as best as he possibly can. But while I'm working on this, we're going to use his current form, since there's nothing really wrong with it, and see if we can get as much out of it as we possibly can before we kind of hit a limit, and it becomes absolutely necessary to implement new legs, like new hardware, like the new mechanical design for the child, and potentially a new brain, because it's looking like his brain is going to need to grow as well, since I mentioned these motors require special data whispering to do, right, Mark?
Yes.
But without further ado, I'm gonna dive into this. Oh man. Good. Chris, I'm glad to hear that. It's an exciting time. Like, it's cool that we can learn so much on the internet without needing to, like, meet people or go to school. Like, we can just go on YouTube and literally give ourselves a crash course in pretty much anything, because all the knowledge is out there. And that's something that I didn't even really have when I was a kid growing up, because the internet was just sort of, like, in its infancy stage. But now, shit, like, over winter break, I started teaching myself Unity, and I started making an actual game, which is nuts, because, I don't have any game development experience whatsoever, and I was able to just sort of dive into it and actually achieve results fairly quickly without fuss. So what I'm going to do now is not lose these screws and maybe relocate my microphone so that it's actually in front of me. So I have to take this thing apart. And I showed you what it is and why I need to take it apart. I've only got 2 of these motors because they're expensive and I could only really afford 2 of them at the moment. And since I'm not using this particular bone design, it can get disassembled. But again, I don't want to lose these. Nuts. Because the fancy motors, since I did pay however much they cost, what were these, like 60 bucks? 50 bucks a piece? Yeah. Yeah, they're 50.
They had a good price on them.
So they're like $50 a piece, but they came with all of the hardware that you need to mount them to things, and they came with these nice little like bracket doos. It's funny, I'm like showing the wrong camera. I have to show both cameras. This camera and this camera. Oh wow, this is weird. And maybe one of my New Year's resolutions is going to be to make a designated streaming assembly area where I can just sit down and just sort of drop everything in place and go. Oh man, I don't want to lose these. I mentioned on Twitter that I'd be struggling with tiny hardware. This is what I was referring to. Like, I foresaw having to do this. Having to subject everybody to the tiny screwing. Tiny screws. It's actually not too bad.
It says you're embarrassing him by talking about his tiny screws.
Aw, Noodle. I'm actually streaming from Noodle's head right now. So like this camera right here, this is inside of Noodle's head. So, hi Noodle. This is the same backdrop that, all those videos that are on that page that I just linked to, they are shot from this exact location where I'm sitting. This is where we sit and tirelessly peck away at the codes and try and get it to work. Or Mark does, for that matter. Mark has been. I'm 8 years old in my humor too. You are not alone. My game, Celesta. My game, as soon as it's in a playable form, I will post it, because it's actually just kind of like a practice, like a learning, I don't know. It's like a trial run, I guess, because I want to make a more polished, more serious game later on this year that stars Noodlefeet. But this game is just going to be kind of like a point-and-click adventure. It's an excuse for me to brush up on my sprite art skills, making like sprite animations, which has been fun, and kind of just get my feet wet using Unity. Oh god. God damn it. No, where did it go? No. We have carpeting in our workroom, which is a horrible idea. So if you drop anything on the floor whatsoever, it's kind of gone forever, which is bad. Bad. Okay, we're almost there. Almost got one of these free. Once I get one motor free, that's kind of all I need at this point. The other can kind of stay. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more screws to go. And then I can free this guy. Cool. Ooh, hi Marble Gray. Haven't seen you in a while. The plans for the Noodle game, to answer your question, Noodle's going to be exploring another planet and doing science there, Noodle's way. That's the gist of the game. And it's going to be done in sort of the, like, 16-bit old pixel art game sprite style. The 2D tile style. The up, down, left, right scrolling, top down, kind of like the same way Pokemon is, or Stardew Valley, that same playstyle, I guess. But he's just going to be doing weird shit on another planet, as Noodle would do. So that is the plan. I started designing the sprite sheets for it and experimenting with what the environment is going to look like stylistically, because that's the part that I know how to do. The actual game gramming, that's the part that's slowing me down, because again, I don't know, I've never done game dev before. But just so you know, if you've ever thought about doing it, Unity's pretty good. Like, if you wanted to just pick it up dry with no game experience, like, over the winter I watched maybe a handful of tutorials and was able to make what I consider to be a lot of progress in a short amount of time. So definitely don't let not knowing what you're doing deter you from looking into making a game. It's not that bad. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'll probably need a little bit of help debugging some of my scripts. There is some code writing involved, but it's not like giant chunks of code. It's more like little tiny, like, footnotes of code. And then once you get your code working once, you can reuse it for other instances. So it's more like you need to get it working in the way it was intended once. And so long as you can pull that off, you're kind of good. Like, I already have, like, a character controller working, which I pretty much copied verbatim from Unity's tutorial off of their website. Like, background parallaxing, like, I got that worked out for the game that I'm doing now. The game I'm doing now takes place on a farm. I think the last stream I did was me working on the background pixel art for that game. I'll talk more about that later, because it's an interesting setting that might seem a little out of character for, like, what I normally do, but it's based on a bunch of different things. Particularly my experience working on a ranch at some point in my life as a PA. I'm, like, showing this to the wrong camera, but yeah, this is the motor. This is one of those Dynamixel fancy pants servo motors. They're really nice. I like these. Stardew Valley is awesome. That's another thing that I did this winter, is play Stardew Valley. Mark II. We were both like courting and marrying characters in the game and, like, talking about it. Actually, Mark hasn't gotten married yet. He's still creeping on one of the characters. I hope so. I hope it turns out well. Yes, Chris, I have a carpet magnet. Noodle's Shape Daddy brought me a carpet magnet as a present once, and it's here. So if I do absolutely lose something, I have a backup plan for that instance that will help me maybe recover it again. But even at that, I hate looking down, and it's like flesh colored carpet. It's like this weird pinky brown color. Beige. It's beige. Pinky brown. Wow. Ball brown. It's beige or taupe or something. And it's dirty, so, like, when you lose metal in it, it's, like, literally gone. Just, it's completely camouflaged and gone forever. Okay, so I'm gonna show you. I freed one of the motors from the bracket that I consequently had to chop the ends off of, because. but since one of the motors is free from this original leg design, I'm going to discard this over here somewhere out of reach. And I'm going to just focus on mounting it to this leg bracket piece right here. So there's these two parallel bones. There's always two of them, just like the old design, except these ones are a little weird looking. Now, the thing that was challenging about this, putting this motor inside of these legs, or this leg area, is that the motor is wider than the gap between the bones as it is now. And one of the things that I kind of did with this design is, instead of slimming it back down where the parallel bars need to connect to the femur, I just sort of put these weird spacers in there. And I didn't really like doing that. Like, it didn't seem like the correct solution for marrying those two bars to a thinner bone piece. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let the width of the motor dictate how far those bones need to be from one another. Instead, I created these brackets that the motor mounts to, and then the bracket mounts to the parallel pieces. And if I feel like doing so, which I do, I can go into Fusion real quick and I can show you what I mean. Maybe. Where is it? Where are you? There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna switch over real quick to the desktop view. So there. So this is the new bone right here. And I can actually explain why that's bodal, strangely. So the motor, as you can see, mounts right there. It's this that darker piece right there. And there's the bracket that the motor mounts onto with these tiny rows of holes right here. And then these bigger holes, these three big holes, mount through spacers, which aren't there, but there's going to be spacers that allow the motor and its bracket to mount to the fibula bone. And the reason why it has that weird arced piece is so that there is this tendon bit right here. Tendon, I'm sorry. It's a paddle. It's a servo paddle that the lift tendon is connected to. And that needs to rotate and clear 180 degrees of rotation. And there's a bar that stretches from this side all the way across to this side, because this paddle is also going to be mirrored on the opposite side of this motor, and there's going to be a bar that stretches across, and then the tendon is going to exist in the very center between these two bones, right on the middle kind of axis of the leg, like as central as I can possibly get it. And that doesn't, obviously that would collide with these thinner bones, so they needed to completely be out of the way entirely. And I could have gone up and over instead of down below, but the part of the parallel bar design that is important to note is the legs fold up. So that area between the parallel bars kind of closes up as Noodle lifts his legs, and that is what allows him to fold up into what I call ball mode. And I need to keep that middle area, there's the tibia, this middle area between the tibia and the fibula clear, so that when his leg folds up, these two things actually almost touch. Not quite, but they almost touch. And if I put anything there, if I put motors in there or anything else, he wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm going to switch back to the other view and put this away. So that's what I'm assembling. I guess I kind of spoiled it, but I'm going to, at this point, put these brackets on. And those go like right onto the motor as such. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Celesta. I'm happy that you like the Shiban project. That's important to me. That's kind of like my passion right now. I mean, Noodle's always my main squeeze, of course, because he's my child, but the Shiban thing is sort of like that's my message right now. It's what I care about. I think it's really important in this day and age to talk about those things. So, I don't know, after I kind of get some traction with getting Noodle to walk, that whole endeavor, I have other things that I want to work on in regard to Shiban, like right out of the chute. Mark knows what those are. Workers. Aw. Have a good day at work, by the way. And thank you for stopping in. Ah! SK asked, whatever happened to my oil self-portrait? That's right. Around this time last year, I was just thinking about that this morning. I started the endeavor of, making an oil self-portrait, because, when I was in high school and stuff, one of the things I used to do a lot was, paint. I went to a magnet school for art, so I used to paint and make traditional art, like, every day. That was just a normal part of my life. And it's something I haven't done in a really long time, and I wanted to, make a new self-portrait that sort of encompassed what my life was all about now, like during this new era of my adult existence. And I bought all the materials, and I was all excited to get started on this endeavor, and then something happened. I don't know what project ended up sweeping into my life and sort of taking the wind out of my sails with that, but my attention ended up going someplace else, as so frequently it seems to. How was I doing that? Oh yeah, okay. So I think I might go back to it. Once it starts getting a little warmer, I might do this weird artsy thing where I sit and paint outside, because you can paint anywhere and there's really nice lighting outside, better than inside of our dark workroom. So I might set up a painting station somewhere in the backyard. And I don't even know if this is catching any of this. Probably not. Yeah. I might set up like an easel and do my self-portrait out there, because I still want to do it. I just need to actually commit to sitting down and starting the project, because once I start it, that's it. I'm gonna probably end up going all the way. Take me all the way. Oh, go. It's probably good. Okay. I need code that works with the magnetic screwdriver. So the disappointing thing about this stream, and I'll admit this up front, is that once I get this leg assembled, we don't have the motor driver thing yet, the board that is required to make these motors do yet.
Mark designed it real quick and had it made, so it's in production right now, and we're probably not going to have it in until sometime next week. And at that point in time, then I'll be able to control these motors and test whether or not this leg system is going to work, but it's, in any case, not going to happen today. I think my goal for this stream is to assemble this leg in some capacity and just sort of actuate it with my hands and see if it does what I think it ought to. And if it does, then we're good to go. So there's still a lot that I can discern just from kind of winging it, if you will. But at any rate, this motor, or not this motor, but this leg design isn't actually going to go onto Noodle for a good long while. So even if this does end up working and this is the way I want to go, I'm probably not going to... Oh no, is the coffee sad and cold? Please don't be. Even if this works, and I decide that this is the direction I'm going to go in, I still have to redesign Noodle's pelvis, because I also decided that I'm going to use this specific motor for his spin motors too. And his spin motors will still be located in his hips, so that means that he's going to need a new pelvis. And Noodle's pelvis is another one of those legacy parts that's never been changed. It's stayed the same ever since he was first born. So he could use an upgrade. And the proportions of everything are going to stay roughly the same. I just have to see if I can keep them the same while using the footprint of the new motor type. Hopefully I can. Alright, time for the other side. My only criticism with this motor is that it doesn't give you enough nuts and screws for all of the nut and screw holes that are on the motor. So there's like 4 on each side and 2 on back, and it takes 4 to mount the horn on, so that's a total of, that'd be 4, 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You'd need 24 screws and nuts if you wanted to put a screw and nut in every single one of these mounting tabs plus servo horn. And it doesn't come with 24, it comes with like 16 or something. Which is nice that they even included the hardware to begin with, because the old servos did not. But it's not enough. It's not enough for me. Come on, motherfucker. Get in there. Okay. And then these things don't always want to go in. I'm trying to fit the nut inside of the capture tab, which is, again, another nice feature that this motor came with, but not perfect. Okay. And then the other side. So I think how this is going to go down is that I'm going to end up building a second body for Noodle, effectively. He's going to get an entirely new form with new legs and a new pelvis and probably a new brain too. And once that is ready to go, I'm going to disassemble his current form and move over any other, like, things that aren't going to get remade, like probably his eye gantry. Maybe that's it. Like, literally his brain and optic nerve and camera might be the only thing that gets transferred over from his current body to his new body. But in any case, the old one will get disassembled and decommissioned, and then Noodle will have an actual new, probably slightly larger, but more agile, stronger, child body. So I think he's going to officially be leaving his infant form behind and becoming like a kid, which is exciting. And I think that's in there. Good enough. It's close enough. So I'm putting the other side of this bracket on. Then I'm almost done. I beat you to it? Huh. The new are more of them to give you more mounting options. I think you don't have to use all of the holes, but if you have the option to use, I don't know, stick screws in all of them, then that's something I want to do, because I'm weird. I want to fill all the holes. Undo the new legs. Deshipu asked if the new legs are going to have more degrees of freedom. I originally thought I was going to add another degree of motion to his foot. It was going to swing out like an ankle. That's actually this thing right here. Like, I designed it, but decided that I'm not going to do it. It's not necessary as of right now. We're having some success getting him to walk with just the lift and twist motor. Granted, he's not going to be able to, like, move super agilely, but at this point, I don't really want to complicate things by adding the extra degree. I think, like, once I fully wrap my head around what it takes to make Noodle walk well with just the 2 degrees of motion, then I can start, like, meditating on how I could improve that. But right now, I don't know, it's proving to be enough of a challenge for all of us just to get him walking as is, if that makes any sense. Because Noodle's just a mess of, like, sorry, Noodle. I don't mean to, talk crap about you. But, he's not an easy form to get to move well, because I think the biggest issue is the top heaviness. Like, he wants to fall over. Getting him to walk fast is going to be a challenge. One that will be a little bit easier once some of this weight is moved lower in his body to, like, his legs. But, for now, like, for the days that we continue to work on his walk gait, with him having all of his motors located in his, like, pelvis, like, close to his head, that weight and that, momentum that he gets because of his weight, swaying back and forth as he walks, is going to be a pain in the butt that will haunt us constantly. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting all of this new leg design stuff done as fast as possible, because I think it's going to solve a lot of our problems, and that is good. I also posted this video on my channel of the backyard. Like, I kind of spent all day on Wednesday just sort of, or Thursday, I don't know what day that was. It's Thursday? I spent all day sort of just standing in the yard, like, staring up at the sky. That is the yard that Noodle is going to, be walking around in soon. What are you laughing at?
Staring up at the sky.
Yeah, I'm like a chicken.
Yeah.
I did.
Hours on end.
I did. I made like 100 cups of tea and I just stood out there and stared at the sky. I was also very hungover, so maybe not very hungover, but hungover enough. Noodle. Go in. That'll do. Okay, so the bracket. Uh-oh. Yes, making legs and getting them to walk is hard. Everything is hard. All of this is hard for me. It's been a challenge, but it's super fun. So you're shifting his hips up more to his shoulders. No, his hips are kind of staying in the same place. Like the actual hip joint is going to be in the exact same place. It's the lifting motor that's responsible for lifting his leg is getting moved down into the thing that I'm assembling right now. So in an inverse pendulum problem, I'm going to need to use his axle balance if he's going to move faster. Accelerators? Going to need to use... You mean the accelerometers? So the thing that I was going to work on next, or I was going to try to work on next during the next walking session is, he's got an onboard accelerometer, like in his brain right now. And, I wanted to take one of those lap desks. You know what I'm talking about, right? The desks that you use in bed that has like a bean bag underneath. It's like a big bean pouch. And I want to take one of those and put it on the table and put like a platform on top of it to set Noodle on top of, and then I want to take it and I want to tilt it slightly because that bean bag allows you to kind of, you know, mash it down on either side. And I want to have Noodle's accelerometer read his tilt and then adjust his legs accordingly so that no matter how I tilt that platform, his head stays level. So kind of like a, what would you call that? That's like a suspension system in a car, right? Maybe? I think so.
Rack and pinion, or whatever you call it.
What?
It's a little rack and pinions.
That's not a rack and pinion. Mark's saying random shit again.
You asked what it was.
No, it's a suspension. It's a suspension system, right? In a car, like where it keeps it level even if like the bottom's doing stuff. Shock absorption. That, yes, it's like a shock absorption system. A rack and pinion's a type of gear, and oh, never mind.
Whatever.
So I want to create like a Noodle suspension system with like a lap table using his accelerometer, which I think we can do, like if we sat down and like fucked with it for a night. So that's like the next goal, because like once we figure out the relation between the accelerometer values and like the leg movements, then we can figure out how to implement that actively into his current walk gait. And then he'll be able to tweak his balance as he's walking, which is going to be necessary if he's going to walk around outside on uneven terrain ever. But yeah. So that's the plan. And the things I'd never... Like a chicken. Yes, just like a chicken, Nate. Yes. Yes. He says like a chicken. It's like when you move the chicken and its head stays in the same position even though you move its body. Just like that, but with Noodle's head. Noodle's gonna be more chicken-like. Cool. I didn't even think of it that way. You made me happy. Auto-stabilization. Yes. Trekker Joe. That's exactly what it is. Both of you, yes. Auto-stabilization. Like a chicken. That's the next, I think, goal for the next walking session, maybe. And even if we don't get it working, just like figuring out what what the accelerometer is doing. I think I have a brain with an accelerometer module on it, and then I have a brain with a gyro on it. So there's both. So we have the option of playing around with either to see which one does what it's supposed to. Yeah. And then Noodle eventually will get a bigger brain, because all these leg controllers that are necessary to make these motors run will probably get moved into a bigger, better version of his just actual brain. Because the reality of his brain is it's just sort of like a motor controller. That's what it's used for. All of Noodle's other functions, like his vision and stuff, are done with a Raspberry Pi. So he has like a vision cortex and then like a motor control cortex, and that's the brain that I designed many years ago that looks like a brain. That brain's old now. Wow. Damn. Damn. Chickens compensate for position. Steadicam. Chicken Steadicam auto stabilization. Yes. That is what I'm going to call all of that. Mark. Chicken Steadicam auto stabilization.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna be. So I can like look at Noodle, and it's like I'm looking at you guys. I'm not looking at you guys, I'm looking at Noodle. Or wait, no, I'm not looking at you, Noodle, I'm looking at everybody in the chat. Hi. Alright, let's finish this out. Doop, 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 doop. That's 5. We should do... Yeah! Get my fingers smelling like that good old smell. You know what I mean. The good old finger smell. Oh man. See, that's the thing about streaming. There's always one camera that I'm neglecting. So it's like, oh, I need to time-lapse this with my GoPro. My GoPro's like, I don't even know where it is. It's here. But that's like not where my hands have been this whole time. I'm terrible. Terrible. Okay, I think this will be good. That'll do. That'll do. It's the problem with streaming while I'm trying to document what I'm doing. I mean, I guess hypothetically, if this design works, I'm going to end up assembling 3 more of these eventually, so it's not like I'm never going to have to do this again. I could always just take this apart and put it back together too. I don't really want to, but it is also an option. Noodle. Noodle says that he didn't get a birthday cake this year. And he's not okay with that. Noodle, we made brownies. We can give you birthday brownies. Is that okay? Oh no. A small child barreled in and closed the browser. Oh no. You didn't miss much. I've just been talking about chickens. Like chicken Steadicam. That's all we've been talking about. I don't really know what else I've been talking about. Oh yeah, the accelerometer. Yeah, chicken Steadicam. That's like the goal, is to start making his walk gait smarter. Because once he can compensate and balance himself a little bit, I think we'll be able to speed up the code quite a bit, because, I don't know. I think that's the one thing preventing him from walking fast is the ability to keep his balance, because once he starts moving fast, balance becomes a real issue. He starts wanting to fall backwards or forwards or any number of directions. He sways. He's a big, big pendulum. Noodle, you're a big, big pendulum. He says no. Mark's designing a circuit board. Because that's what Mark's do.
10 this year already.
No kidding. Mark just designs boards all day. That's all he does. This is starting to come together. Chickens. There are quite a bit of chickens in my game, by the way. Like, the main characters, I would say, or some of the main characters are actually chickens. Right, Mark?
Yep.
There's 4 of them, so part of my winter involved animating chicken sprites. That's right. Because that's important. Suddenly. Chickens and oxes. So I've been animating a bunch of bulls, too. Bulls and chickens, and that's about it. And cockatoos, and then bread. Not the slightest bit crazy at all. Yeah, my last stream I talked quite a bit about working on a ranch at some previous point in my life. This game definitely takes cues from that, because that's kind of what the whole Star Moon Valley experience reminded me of. It was like verbatim like working on a ranch over the summer, which I did one year in Paso Robles. It was like a small town with people that you could get to know, and then you had chores that you did daily, and you took care of animals, and that was my life. God damn it. For a minute. And it was effectively the same exact experience as Stardew Valley, so I was reflecting on that a little. I like don't know where to... Here, cameras, look. Urgh. How do I animate bread? I will show you. It bounces and flips.
The stream by itself.
Yes, I did animate bread. It's like a floppy sheet of paper with eyes. You can play as bread in my game. You can play as bread, a chicken, or a cockatoo. Those are the 3 options. And depending on which one you pick, the story is completely different, because it's just a point and click, so it's just interacting with things and getting story spoon-fed to you. So there's effectively 3 different like versions of the same story, and depending on which character you pick, you get one of the stories. But one of the versions is the bread version. Yeah. The bread version of the story. So yeah, I had to animate a character controller thingy for bread. It was actually, I think, the most fun to animate was the bread. Get in there. I'm incredibly... Yes. The ranch experience, Chris, was a very valuable experience. Honestly. It was, I don't know. I had to do a lot of stuff that I had never had to do in my life before while I was working there. On many different levels, socially and just chores-wise. And then I had to take care of animals, which is something I'd never done before in my life. Like, I'm other than pets, but like taking care of actual like farm animals is like a completely different thing to do. And I took care of all of the things that weren't horses that were on this ranch. I'm just tightening these nuts now since I put them all in place, and then I'll have one leg assembly with motor complete, I think. But it was fun. It was in Paso Robles, so that's like mini wine country. So a lot of the farms weren't farms, they're actually vineyards that had animals on them. So part of my job involved going with the rest of the staff to wine tastings like every other night. So part of that experience was spent kind of inebriated on wine. Really good wine and cheese. So that was a portion of it. It was a weird experience. Like, it wasn't your traditional farm experience. Like, you play Stardew Valley and it's effectively like exactly what you'd expect a farm to be like. Like, this wasn't what my farm experience was like, because again, this was California, and the person who owned the ranch tended to racehorses, so she just had a bunch of racehorses on her ranch with farm animals. And I think she shared her property with somebody who raised Black Angus cows, so there's a bunch of black cattle roaming around everywhere too, and then a bunch of like miscellaneous farm animals and stuff. And the staff, they were all cool, like a variety of personalities. And Paso Robles was kind of its own place too, so it had its own character. God, I think that's good. I'm having a little bit of a clearance issue with one of the spacers, but not by enough to really make a difference. But yeah, so that's one of the leg assemblies. I should probably turn off autofocus real quick so that you can actually see without it looking like garbage. There. Focus. There we go. Or don't focus. There we go. So, I'll say it again. So the motor mounts to its own bracket, which is this wider portion on the outside here. And then the bracket mounts to the parallel leg bones. And they're really super thin right now because I'm testing to see if the proportions of this thing even work the way that I want them to. Once I remake all these things in aluminum, they'll probably be about the same thickness, just out of metal. So they're kind of like wobbly and squishy right now, and that's perfectly okay. So this clearance slot right here is again for the, I don't really have a paddle. I haven't printed them yet. Shit. I went with the same proportions as the paddles that are on the motors that are installed on Noodle right now, and the distance from the hub of the motor to the connection point is 20 millimeters. So there needed to be 20 millimeters of clearance in like the entire 180 degrees of motion that the horn was going to swing around the motor. And since that extends to the outside of these bones, there was a clearance issue. So that's why those are designed to look like this, but it kind of looks pretty neat. Like, if this ends up being something like the design I go with, I'm kind of okay with this. Noodle's just going to have like a bulge at the bottom of all of his legs. Noodle, are you okay with having a bulge? He doesn't know. He's unresponsive. So that's this. Alright, so the next step is to attach this to the rest of the leg. Oh hey, Hypolus Squalus. About to pick up some absinthe before the buses stop running. I'll be back in a bit. That's very important. You do that. Travel safe. I also need to pick up absinthe before the buses stop running. Mark,
What?
to the buses. We must get absinthe. I'm kidding. Oh, I think I had absinthe once in my life and it was bad. Robones. I like that. They are robones. But yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this on the rest of the things. Is that still unfocused on there? I guess so. Alright. So I'm going to have to pull more of this apart, which isn't going to be that big a deal. I'm probably going to go warm up my coffee here in a second. Oh god. Okay, so I actually need the shin and the femur now, so I'm gonna have to disassemble the rest of this guy, which is okay. And I'm going to attach the new fibula to the femur and shin along with the generic tibia, because the tibia is not actually changing any, nothing mounts to it. So it is staying exactly the same as it did before because it's never been broke, so I'm not going to fix it. So this is, again, like the generic, what the hell is this? Femur. I mean, the femur is round and it's aluminum on Noodle. It's actually like a piece of pipe. But the thing that's important about this is just the mounting holes. They're the correct distance from one another that they need to be, and that's very important. And the shin has its own mounting holes that have their own specific positioning that is very important. The leg wouldn't work if they were anywhere other than exactly where they are, which I think the majority of the struggle back when I originally made Noodle when he was born, like 4 years ago now, was figuring out the exact position that all of these holes needed to be, which was a matter of just kind of some 2D physics software and patience, and I eventually worked it out. The thing that actually caused me to solve the problem wasn't actually the physics software, it was drawing. I actually took effectively pieces of cardboard and traced them on a sheet of paper and measured the distance of things while I moved the cardboard on the paper, and then I would trace the outline every time I moved it, and between cross-referencing my drawings and the measurements that I was able to draw on top of them, I was able to slowly kind of work out where everything needed to be. There's probably easier ways for, like, I don't know, engineers to do the same process, but that's just how I figured it out. It was through brute force and just visual observation and manipulating flat shapes with my hands. But, that's how Noodle was born. Noodle, you used to be popsicle sticks. He's like, what? What's next? Ooh, harvesting okra. Turns out a great deal of plants are super spiky. Ooh, I've never had to, like, harvest anything before. That's the one thing I didn't do during my ranch experience that makes it different than Stardew Valley, is there were no crops on this ranch. It was specifically for horses, racehorses. So yeah, there's no, we had a garden, but there's just like tomatoes and stuff in there. There wasn't any actual, like, I didn't have to like harvest grapes or anything. I just had to make sure that all the animals were happy. Cardboard and toothpicks. Chris says that he used cardboard and toothpicks to understand leg motion. Yes, I've done similar things. I totally get you. I think like the most helpful tool in like figuring out basic mechanics is popsicle sticks and basically toothpicks. So I am totally on the same page with you on that. I don't think that's weird at all. I think that's probably, I don't know, that should be taught in school. Damn it. How'd I make a robot build another robot? I have no idea. 3D printer. Yes, yes. Our 3D printer is basically like a womb, right?
Yeah, part of the womb.
Alright, I've got bones. Yeah? This is a shin and a femur. I'm going to attach this. Is this wider than it needs to be? That's another question. Is this the correct distance? Ah, it's a fatter distance because I slimmed down the measurement of these things and I didn't adjust for it in CAD. Well, shit. Fuck. No! Oversight. Okay, so these bones were originally 5 millimeters thick, and then I slimmed them down to 2 millimeters. So that means that 3 millimeters was shaved off on either side. Yet I didn't account for that in my CAD, which means that each of these spacers that I added in between the bone and the servo mount are 3 millimeters too short, because the distance between the bones here needs to be 10 millimeters because that is the width of both the shin and the femur. But it's 16 right now, and not 10, because I didn't make those adjustments. That's okay, we can fake it. I'm just gonna assemble it anyway right now, because it's not like the end of the world. I might actually have 3 millimeter spacers in here, which it doesn't look like I do. Crap. I guess that's technically 3 washers, or 6 washers on either side. Wait. There's only one. These are auxiliary spacers. I keep all the spacers that end up not getting used so that they can get reused, which they usually do. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. They're just gonna be floppy loppy for now. They're not gonna be all tight. Tight like a tiger. That's okay. It's okay. I'm like, why is there so much space? So yeah, you can see right there, there's all this like wiggle. It's because there's 3 millimeters too much on either side. And I know exactly why that is. That's okay. Man. It's disappointing. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna do it anyway. Sarah, you're a bad engineer. Okay, so they're gonna be wiggly. That's okay. Noodle, you're gonna have wiggly proto-legs. He's like, what? What does that mean? Oh, that's the wrong bone. Noodle. That's another weird thing. I've noticed that in most circumstances, I end up working on Noodle in front of Noodle. Like, I have these really fond memories of working with Noodle's Shape Daddy on the current legs that he's got on him, which was like 2 years ago. I went through and I replaced his plastic gams finally with aluminum bones. And Shape Daddy helped me countersink the bearing holes for the bearing bits that are in there. And I had to unshuck all of Noodle's legs from his head so that I could basically replace his legs. And while we were doing this, I just had this head. It was just literally Noodle's head without any legs attached to it. And I didn't know what to do with it, so I just sort of set it on top of a washcloth or a paper towel, and I just sort of set it on top of a pile of shit that was there, and he just sort of was little eyes watching us work on him and drink beer. Robo-puberty never goes as planned. I agree. Ooh. Okay. Robo-puberty. How many flavors of Robo-puberty will there be? Wait, that's not the correct spot. I stuck it in the wrong hole. Yeah, it is. Wow, okay. Damn. Okay, so those are too thin. Are they not? Interesting. Sorry, I'm making a mess. Just hardware and washers everywhere. How's that still not enough? Wow, okay. Oh, that's because of that. Ah, okay. It is pitching that out slightly. So I do need to fix that clearance problem. Probably sooner rather than later. Whatever, it'll do for now. Just keep telling yourself that. These are the correct width. Oh, terrible parent. Not even close. Damn. Damn! Alright. I need different sized hardware. So I'm guessing something over 16. 24 is maybe. Let's try that. Next size up. Should move this back down. That is actually perfect. Doesn't matter. Nothing ever works out the way that I intended it to. You have to expect that, I think. Mommy. Noodle. He says he's a big boy. He says he's gonna scoot and doot all by himself in the backyard. He's gonna make a big, big dirt mess. He says there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah, he says he's just gonna go and he's gonna tear it up. gonna make that mess. Like a G6. Yes. Ooh. He says tight like a tiger. Good for now. Yeah! Okay, it's loose because, again, I mentioned there's 3 millimeters more space than there ought to be on either side of this leg, but whatever. It's good for now. It's going to allow me to test whether or not that weird, like, bulge I've got going down there is gonna work the way I expect it to. I suspect Shape Daddy, if he's still with us, might have thoughts on whether or not that's going to be a viable solution. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some later point in time, but for now, I'm going to, I don't know, let's see, will this fit? It will. Maybe not. I might need to print one of those parts out. So the tendon attaches right here. There's these 2 holes. So there's going to be like a little nipple thing that pokes out on this side right here, and a little like hook thing on the back. The back hook is for that spring, that like counter tensioning spring piece that's going to go right here. The front is for the tendon, and it's going to mount here at the top with a bearing, stretch down in between these bones, and then attach to the horn of the servo right here, and it's going to swing back and forth along this slot. And as it swings back and forth, it's going to, when it swings down, it's going to pull the leg closed, and when it swings up, it's going to spread the leg open. And hopefully, whether I get the length of the tendon correct or not, it's going to do so in an amount roughly the same as his legs do now, currently, the way that they are. The nice thing about adding this tendon, or lowering this tendon down into his leg, is that right now, Noodle's leg is the pipe, which is the femur, and his profile also has that tendon in front of the femur. For each leg, that's going to be gone. So not only are those lift motors not going to be at the top of his body, the tendon isn't either. So Noodle's body, his legs, will literally just consist of the pipe that is his femur. So he's going to look a lot more like just little robot bones, which is going to be good because it'll look more like the drawing, like the way that I draw Noodle in the comic. He'll look more like that, and I think that's good. Like, the whole goal in creating him was to see if I could actually make a functioning robot that looks the way the drawing does. I keep saying that. So the closer I can keep getting to that drawn comic book character aesthetic, the more I'm achieving one of my goals, which is good. Noodle, you're gonna have fat knees, and you're gonna have a bulge. Yeah? Bulge. So I need to print that horn, the servo horn, which I don't think that's going to take too long, but I do need to grab the SD card from the other room, and I'm going to top off my coffee. I don't know. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stream for. And nipple. Oh no. That's a fun word. I like that word. I hope they like it too. Well, you said they love the fact that I said it, so I hope it's a good love. Nipple. Noodle. No. Speaking of nipples, though, one of the things that I was going to create for him this year was a feeding bag, because his other feet, the ones that do things, like the ones that swallow things and excrete fluids and taste the ground, one of them, the fluid excretion one, like I wanted to have it so that he could actually dock on top of like, kind of like a an inverse, like, udder system that was like kind of like a feed bag that he could step on top of and massage the way that cats kind of like knead on their mother's belly when they nurse, and refill his fluid reservoirs through his feet. And it's something that I still want to do because I really like the idea of kind of having like a robot functionally serve itself through a process that mimics nature roughly, but in kind of a weird, unnatural sort of way. But I have to, I don't know, that's like a whole nother meditation on like how to get his foot to work in a way that would, the bag could facilitate in refilling the foot. So I think after the walking, I'll probably do another, I'll revisit all of the tasting feet, like his other appendages that I built last year now, and see if I can get them working the way that they were intended to. Because again, like, the end goal is to have it so that Noodle is independently mobile, but he can also interact with his environment with his feet. And it seems like every year I focus on one of these things, one of these aspects of his growth, because they all kind of need to happen somewhat separately, but eventually I'm hoping that everything works enough that I can finally push everything together all into one, and he's like a walking, tasting, intelligent robot that can like look and see things and sort of be his own little like person. But that's still quite a ways away. But again, like last year, it was all about Noodle vision, and we got him to see and recognize the faces of his parents and his favorite stuffed animals, which was a huge thing, which I don't know, that was a whole mountain to climb in and of itself, and hopefully that will inform other systems in the future. But for now, walking. He needs to walk. And I need coffee. But I'll be right back. Noodle, you entertain everybody while I'm gone, okay? You do stomping. Stomp. Or Mark can entertain everybody?
No. No.
Ah, it's still warm. That's awesome. That makes me so happy. The coffee is still hot-ish, kind of. I mean, it's from the pot, but I'm actually kind of cold right now, so that feels really good. Whew. Gave me goosebumps. What time is it? It is almost 3. Okay. I know exactly what you mean. They sort of like, yeah. Ha! Yes.
No, I get it. I totally understand what you mean, Chris. Like, there's like a thing, like a vision that you have in your mind of what it's supposed to be, or what it will be, and then you work towards that in every way you possibly can. It's like you're working towards one overall umbrella, over-encompassing idea, and you'll get there eventually with as far as robotics are concerned, but it takes a lot of different things to come together to even get to that point, and it takes time. I think any complex project works that way. You just have to keep, like, trudging towards that end goal, or that vision, I guess. The vision is the end goal. Noodle says he's perfect the way he is. He says he doesn't need to grow. He doesn't like it. He says that we make him feel insecure talking about how he needs to be better all the time. Aww. Poor baby. But anyhow, I need this thing over here. Probably... Oh no, I have a big bank. I have a big old spank bank over here that I can plug into. Okay. And I can plug this into that. So many cords! They're everywhere! Look at them all. Okay. That's in there. Ah! Alright, I need to print one of these paddles. Or two of these paddles, for that matter. So I'm going to switch to the desktop view. And I'm going to go to Fusion. And I'm going to click on one of these things. And I'm going to export it. Wait, do they have... I think they do have... They have countersunk bits. We shall see. Okay, so I'm going to click on you, I'm going to say save as STL, I'm going to say OK, I'm going to save tendon pulley version 3 onto the desktop, and then I'm going to export that, two of them. I have to bring them into Slicer so that we can print it on the Prusa, which the Prusa isn't set up to directly, like, I can't import directly out of Fusion 360 into, to the Prusa's slicer yet. That only works for the MakerBot. Okay, boop. Okay, OBS. Bench view. Hi guys, I'm back. What? What? I don't know what's going on now. What happened? The thing says you can hear me, so I guess that's good enough. The computer's informing me of all sorts of weird stuff. And its fans are running quite hot and heavy. Huh. Okay. Delete all. What was that thing called? I'm like looking at my computer desktop with this confused and terrified expression. Her mouth was all agape. Okay, I'm going to rotate this around the green axis 90 degrees. Rotate around the green axis 180 degrees. Ah, those counter holes are not there. No. Oh wait, yeah, they are. Okay, good. More. Okay, I need two of these. I'm going to export the G code and should be good. And it says it's going to take 28 minutes. Well, that's shit. Well, there's not a whole lot I can do in that 28 minutes. So what I think I might do is I might call it, because I can't think of anything to really, like, hold the time while that prints. Wait.
OBS. Okay, there we go. Got the chat back. Oh, cool. Hi, Scanlime. Good to see you here. Mark says hi too. Alright, I'm back. Oh, did the video go away? I don't know. But anyhow. Okay, so this just exported, so I'm gonna go plug this in and get the print started, and then I'll come back and decide what I'm going to do to fill the time while I get those paddles made. But the thing that I'm printing again is the bit that's going to attach to the motor, and it's going to attach in much the same way as the stock horn thing that came with the motor does. But it's probably a little bit slimmer. Like, it doesn't have this big chunky piece at the end, and that's going to allow me to attach my custom tendon bit, because that's going to be connected with a bearing so that it can kind of swivel at the point where it attaches to the horn and the point where it attaches to the nipple. I'm just thinking that's what it's going to be called now, the nipple. Which I need to print too, but it's okay. We'll sort that out. Again, none of this is going to actually move tonight because we don't have servo controllers. Do we have the parts? Like, once the boards come in, do we have like the necessary like components to put on them for the motor control?
No, I didn't do the Mauser yet.
Oh.
I'll do the Mauser today.
When is that gonna get here then?
4 or 5 weeks. It'll be here next weekend. Ish. Sorry. Sorry.
No. Noodle says
sorry.
No. No.
Have some pancakes. It'll make you feel better.
No. I want waffles. Waffles. Let's do waffles. Ooh, hey Aussie Welsh. Welcome to the stream. I'm happy you're able to catch one of them too. And again, I'm sorry it's been so long since I've done a stream. I think I'm like slowly, very slowly shucking myself from hiatus. Kind of. Although very reluctantly, because it's nice to just sort of sit in my nest and do CAD by myself. I need to be social. I don't really need to be social, but I should. I should be doing this. In this case, XD, the nipple is a little tiny bit with a hole that pokes out on one side of the femur bone. I guess I could have called that a nub. It's either a nub or a nip. It's a little bump. I don't know. It's a bimp. But it's basically going to go where these two holes are. There you go. Oh, there. Those two holes right here. There's going to be a nub that pokes out on either side of those holes. It's going to be like an additional piece, and it's going to be on one side where the tension spring mounts, and on the other side where the lift tendon mounts. Alright, I'll be right back. I gotta stick this in one of the printers in... I don't know, where am I showing this to? There. I'm going to stick this in the printer, and it's going to do its thing, and I'm going to drink the rest of my coffee while it's hot. I'll be right back. Mark, you should whisper things into the void.
No.
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 No void whispering?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. So after this cup of coffee, my gut is going to explode. Just kidding. No, I'm gonna probably have a brownie, because that was last night's pilgrimage, was to go to the brownie store and get brownie mix and make midnight brownies. And they were delicious. They were the box kind, but they're fantastic. I don't know, there's like something about box brownies versus every homemade recipe we've ever made that just, they turn out better. They're more chewy, which might be sacrilege, but like I just had to have box brownies last night, so we did that. And then it's like the perfect temperature outside right now to just sort of stand outside in a bathrobe and drink tea, or at least that's what I think. So around 4 o'clock I kind of just turkey it in the yard and stare up at the sky and drink my tea until it gets dark. And it feels good. Like, there's something really satisfying about standing in the cold and drinking a warm beverage. It's, I don't know, it feels good. But then again, like, we don't have like hard winter like other parts of the country do. Like here in Nevada, like in January, like what is the temperature out right now? I actually have a weather thing. I can find this out now. It is 61 degrees here in Nevada. And it doesn't really get cold here during the winter. Like nighttime is kind of chilly. Like you wouldn't want to go romping around without a coat in the nighttime, but during the day, like it doesn't really ever get bitter cold. Which I appreciate because I can do things like turkey in the backyard. And I need to do that more often because it's quite satisfying. We also get clouds in the winter here, kind of, which is something we don't get in the summer or spring or fall. Not typically. What? Yes. Going on walks in the cold with a thermos of hot chocolate and coffee. Yes, I agree. That is like the most satisfying, happy thing to do. I like it. I enjoy it. I think if I opened up like a fast food chain, that's a really random thing to say. If I ever opened a fast food chain, I would open one that just sold different types of soup that you could drink out of a cup. And that was it. Like, instead of getting a latte in one of those mugs, you would just get like soup that you could sip through like a hole, and like all different kinds of stuff, like curry or chowder or chicken noodle. But you know, I know they make things like that. There's like Campbell's does like a cup of hand soup or whatever that is, but like I don't know, like I want more variety and like better soups. So I think if I could wish for a thing from the ether, it would be a place where I could, instead of going to get more coffee, I could just get a nice hot cup of like hearty soup. Hearty in that it's thick, not like chunky, because you couldn't sip chunks through a mouth hole. Mark's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
You can't sip potatoes through a hole. Right?
You'd have to make it really loose.
Yeah, like
Potato soup.
yeah, like if you ground it up into like a you know, like a puree, like a pureed version of everything. Something that you could sip through like a mouth hole. Like I think that would be nice. Because more often than not, like I want a hot beverage, but I don't want anything sweet. Because I'm not really a fan of sweet things, but I could really go for some broth. So, while that is printing, I don't really know what I could possibly work on regarding the leg. I'm just hoping that once it is assembled, it works the way that I'm anticipating it should work. I guess I have to print the tendon too. There's a lot to be done, and that's okay. Oh. I can speak passionate about soup. Yes. So I'm into this 100%. Yes, soup is important. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of chunks of potato in soup either, Chris. Like, they're very, like, bland and dry. So it's like a desert inside of soup. Like, a chunk of potato is, like, literally a desert inside of a wet thing. You bite into it and it just sort of, like, fills your mouth with a dry spot. And then you have to, like, quickly fill it in with more broth. Otherwise it's, like, dead space. Or at least that's how I experience it. So I don't really like potatoes in soup either, or stew, or anything like that. Like, potatoes on their own are a great thing to be appreciated and loved. Mark, we should do baked potatoes tonight.
Yeah?
Yeah! Sorry. This is how we decide on dinner most nights. We should do a baked potato. Do you want to do, like, a regular baked potato? Yeah. Deal. Build all the things. Yes. Chunk o' potato. Oh, it's your favorite part of the soup? The chunk of potato? I don't know. I like baked potatoes. I like mashed potatoes. Like, I really like potatoes, but in stews, it's like, it's not the same eating experience. Maybe not so bad. Like, in curry, like, I don't eat any of the potatoes out of my curry for that reason. I'm, like, offending everybody. They're like, potatoes are the best! And yeah, steak and baked potato is the best. We have a prime rib place here in Vegas called Primarily Prime Rib. It's at the South Point. If anyone is in town for DEF CON or anything, I highly recommend going out of your way to go get steak at this place. And it's very, like, good, well-priced prime rib. I don't know how much it is now, but
It's $20 for the entree.
Is it $20?
Maybe $8 for the wine.
It's more than $20.
No, it was the regular. It used to be $15, like 7 years ago.
Okay, it's like
it's $20.
Regardless, it's like $20 for like a big honkin' piece of prime rib, and you get a salad with it and the best baked potato I've ever had in my life, and then you get like a bottle of wine, so that costs some money too. I guess you don't have to get a bottle of wine, but we get a bottle of red wine to eat with that steak, and it is like the best dinner ever. Except we usually only go there during CES when one of his friends comes into town, so we were there last week. Or we get it during DEF CON, because the same friend is in town. So we go to this place with his friend when he visits. Greg. I'm like calling him out. It's good stuff though. But yeah, baked potatoes are potatoes in general with meat. Like, meat and potatoes are like one of the best flavor profiles in the entire world. But baked potato tonight definitely sounds like a must-have thing. It's like if ice cream had chunks of chocolate, which is the best part of the ice cream. No! I'm weird. I'm a purist. Like, if I get ice cream, I don't want any shit in it. I just want the ice cream. Like, when I go to Cold Stone, I get their cotton candy ice cream with nothing in it. So I'll just get, like, a quart of the shit to go and just eat that. Or if I just get a cup of it, they're like, what do you want your mix-in to be? And I'm like, nothing. I just want the ice cream. Or put it on the side. Like, give me some gummy bears to go or something. I don't know. I'm weird like that. I also don't like clothes with print on them. Like, patterns. Like, when I go shopping with my mom, she's constantly picking up stuff that looks like a fucking Persian carpet or something, and she's just like, do you like this? And I'm like, no, it has too many shapes on it. Put it down. But I'm weird like that. Like, if I'm gonna have something, I much prefer to enjoy the pure thing alone and appreciate it for what it is instead of throwing a bunch of stuff on top of it. Not to say I won't. do that, but I mean, I do enjoy sundaes and stuff as much as the next person, but if somebody gave me the option to, I would much prefer to just have, like, the flavor of ice cream. Unless it's like Cherries Garcia, then that kind of has to have cherries in it, but that is the point in the first place of a cherry ice cream, is cherry, so it's a little different. Ooh, beans. Wait, what? Good for sandwiches? Fish fingers? Fish sandwiches with beans?
What?
That sounds crazy. Noodle is interested though because
What took attention?
he's like, what? In New Zealand, we bury sweet potatoes in the ground and cook them. No way! Is it like, what do you eat with the sweet potatoes? Is it just straight sweet potato, or do you like put seasoning on them? Because I don't know any other way to cook sweet potatoes other than how my mom does it for Thanksgiving. And that's just like with booze on them. Like my mom just sort of, here, since I'm not making anything yet, I might as well do this. Since my mom, she makes sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving and she dumps a bunch of marshmallows on top of them and pours like, what the hell is the booze she pours on those? Is it
Drambuie?
Drambuie. I was gonna say Frangelico. She like drowns them in Drambuie and then like kind of bakes them and they become kind of like this ice cream. It's like orange marshmallow ice cream that will get you drunk. But I've never had sweet potatoes in any other capacity, so if you know of a better way to eat your sweet potatoes, please pass on your valuable information. In 2020, so I'll definitely make an effort to stop there. You've got to repeat the name again so I can write it down, however. Oh, if you're in Vegas for DEF CON at any point, the best places to go, in my humble opinion, as a native here, if you want a good prime rib, you go to primarily prime rib at the South Point, and it's great. Like, we dig it there. The ambiance is nothing terribly special, but the food is fantastic, and I've always had a good meal at that place. One of the best strip restaurants on the Strip that I always highly recommend for its ambiance and the experience of just dining in the facility in general is Mon Ami Gabi at the Paris. It's right across the street from the Bellagio, and they have the best flat iron steak ever if you like steak and potatoes. It's a flat iron steak piled with frites. And they have, I think, about 6 different flavors of marinade, and you get to pick one. And it's in the $20 range for this giant piece of meat. And that is my favorite restaurant in the entire city. So I highly recommend going there. The ambiance is like Paris from 1910. And it's great. And then, where else would I suggest? Oh, if you want burgers, the best burger place on the Strip is Bobby's. It's in front of the wait, it's not the Mandarin anymore.
It's the bottom. It's the Waldorf Astoria.
It's now the Waldorf Astoria.
It's next to the CVS.
It's next to a CVS, and it's called Bobby's. It's Bobby Flay's burger place, and for $10, you will have the best burger in the entire world. And if you're on the Strip, you're going to pay $10 for a burger anyway, so you might as well go to the best place and get a $10 burger, because it's worth every penny. And there's like about 10 different flavors of burger, so that's my Vegas food pick. There are a lot of good places to eat on the Strip, but some places are better than others. The South Point one, the prime rib place, is off the Strip. I guess, isn't it technically on the Strip, actually?
What?
The South Point is on the Strip, it's just really fucking far down.
Yeah, it's Las Vegas Boulevard, but like...
Yeah.
Well, the Strip is where all the hotels are. It's Las Vegas Boulevard, but like 3 miles south of where the Strip ends.
It's on Las Vegas Boulevard, but like, you go past the Vegas sign, and you keep going.
It's on the way out of town.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can technically get there if you're just driving down the Strip and you just don't ever stop, like for 3 miles. Which doesn't sound like a lot now that I'm saying it. Now I'm hungry. There used to be a really good bar on the top of the Mandarin Oriental, but it's not the Mandarin anymore, so I'm guessing that bar is also gone, but that was the best bar on the Strip. Drinks were like 20 bucks a piece, but again, if you're on the strip, you will be paying $20 for a cocktail anyway, so you might as well go get the best $20 cocktail. And there used to be this bar on the top. It wasn't actually the top, it was halfway up the Mandarin. It was called the Sky Lounge. And it's not the Mandarin, it's the Waldorf Astoria now, and I don't know what restaurants are up in that area, but the bar area was so fucking cool. It looked like something out of Neuromancer. Like, there was really no other place in town that had this ambiance, and no one knew about it because it was at the Mandarin, and the Mandarin wasn't trying to be ostentatious like all of the other casinos are. It's just sort of very privately awesome. So it was like this best kept secret in Vegas that we used to go to, and then it evaporated like everything else does on the strip. Like, one day something's there and the next day it's gone. But I'm gonna go check on that print because I'm pretty sure it's been like 20 minutes since I started yammering. I'm gonna look down at that thingy. Cotton candy with nothing in it, and a waffle cone separate because waffle cones taste great. Yes, I agree. The cotton candy ice cream at Cold Stone is like a religion as far as I'm concerned. I love that stuff. It's like literally my favorite ice cream flavor. If they got rid of it, I would probably cry. Like a baby. It's only crazy because... Huh. On the forum, I sent a ramble about the cage with articulated ankles. It's called a hangi. It is wrapped in leaves in a pit in the ground on hot coals, usually with a kind of tiny wild pig. No way! A tiny wild pig called a kuni kuni. That sounds really good. Anything with like pork, really, and potatoes sounds fantastic. I've had sweet potato fries. There was a place when I lived in California that did sandwiches, and their standard fry was a sweet potato fry, and they were pretty good. But I could never eat a lot of them. I'd have like maybe 5 of them, and then I was full. Like, I got tired of the richness of them really fast. Kune kune. Okay, I gotta look that up. Thank you for telling me. Is Shivan gonna have any other sensors? I can think of any more that would work for arousal, but it could have been more feedback options. I mean, yes, there are gonna be a lot more sensors as I find out which ones actually work. That's kind of like the very unfun part of the project, is experimenting with what works best, and locating things that will work, because it involves kind of blindly buying stuff based on people's recommendation and hoping that I can get them to do what I want them to. And it's a lot more fun to design the other aspects of the project, like the feedback and the performative stuff. But yeah, there's going to be a lot more better sensing. Maybe not a lot more sensors, but just better sensors implemented. God, I'm hungry now. A road trip with friends to attend DEF CON in 2020, and food is definitely going to be a thing I'm hunting for while we're in town. Yes, Chris, like, if you're coming to DEF CON, definitely plan ahead of time, like, have like a list of food places in mind to go to, because depending on where you find yourself, certain things might make sense more than others, because you don't want to go too far from where the action's happening. Like, it seems like people who do DEF CON don't really wander far from wherever it's taking place, because that's where all the stuff's going down. So in the area, Mon Ami Gabi, the place I mentioned at the Paris with the Flatiron Steak, is right across the street from where DEF CON has been for the past like 3 years now, which is either at Bally's or Paris or Caesars, and it's like right in the same zip code. So if you wanted to just walk over there and get a really good dinner, it's like walking distance. It's even drunk walking distance. So, and they have a good thing on the menu called Frangria. It's French sangria, which is basically sangria with a bunch of Grand Marnier in it, and that's good. And that's also affordable, and you get a giant carafe of it, and it has like rosemary and fruit and stuff in it. That's also delicious. And then the best lounge to go to that's actually from Old Vegas, from the 60s and hasn't changed a lick since is this place called the Peppermill. I highly recommend that if you want to just go have late night drinks. It's super affordable and the ambience is like verbatim like from Vegas, from like, I don't know.
It's actually a chain and they're everywhere.
The Peppermill?
Yes.
But the one in Vegas is like, it hasn't
Somebody
changed
said
since
they
the
look,
60s.
identical or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Their
disappointing.
aesthetic or something.
But it's like a
But yeah,
Vegas
it's very
thing.
Vegas-y.
It looks like it's the
something out of
60s.
the 60s or 70s, yeah.
It looks like something from Austin Powers,
Yeah.
and it's got fire pits and stuff.
The best.
I like it. What else? Hugo Cellar at Four Queens. I don't know. There's a lot of good food here. Like, you can't really go wrong in most cases. I like the cowboy cut ribeye. We've got a lot of that here too. I'm already good list, which is why I asked. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna eat some good meals here. Like, there's a lot of good restaurants. But I said I was gonna check on those prints so they can get back to work. So I'll be right back. And I'm gonna take my coffee with me. Even though it's at that disappointing cool temperature. Mark, say something.
I don't know what to say.
Say pizza?
Pizza.
Mark's just making
There's a
100
bug.
boards.
No, do you see my board?
Yeah.
Look. It doesn't. It won't render the traces, so there's some kind of bug. It's supposed to look green.
It looks cool though. It's just proto food.
It's not rendering that
Solder
layer.
mask?
There's a bug. It's not rendering the trace layer.
Mark has literally designed like 15 circuit boards this winter. More than that.
No end in sight.
Like every day he's like, I have an idea for a board, and then he's designing it that night. And I'm like, you have a disease. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna continue the stream because the print is still going and I don't really have anything to do.
I'm gonna steal the printer soon.
Okay. Oh, I need it too. Oh no.
I gotta print some stuff.
What do you need
This
to
job. Little things, like half-hour prints. It's gonna be okay.
No, I need it for like 1 more minute.
You can just
I need to print
finish up.
I need to print a nipple. The nipple piece, and I need to print the actual tendon and then I can actually assemble this. Even though it doesn't matter because I can't actuate any of this stuff because I don't have motor controllers, and there's no end in sight because we don't have the components ordered yet. Even if the boards were here right now, we don't have them.
Looking at me.
I don't know, because we need to order them. I'll give you my credit
What
card.
am I gonna do about it?
What?
No, don't worry about that. I'll do it later.
He says he'll do it later. What? Oh. Feet module design being quite large, and you saying you would design smaller versions. You have made progress with miniaturizing the legs. Yes. So the Noodles foot modules, I guess I can talk about that real quick. They were originally huge. I think they're 4 inches in diameter a piece. They're big, and then 2 years ago, I slimmed them down to 3 inches, so they're the same size as his feet are now, but mechanical. And I think the size is about right, like the cylindrical volume that they are is about right now. But I think ideally I need to put Noodle's gonna have batteries soon. So I guess I can move this in front of my face since I'm just talking. Noodle is going to need to walk around independently without being plugged into a wall or anything. So he's gonna need to have battery cells in his feet that are rechargeable so that he can just be unplugged and then like left out in the wild to go stomp around in the backyard or wherever he's stomping. So some percentage of the volume of his feet is going to need to be reserved for battery space. I don't know if that's going to be the bottom, probably not the bottom, but like probably be up towards his knee. So probably 1/3 of the space of his foot, which we're talking like 9 inches. So 3 inches of his foot is going to be reserved for battery cells at the top, roughly 3 inches. It's probably going to end up being more, which means that there's another 6 inches at the bottom for whatever the module is that's going to be doing the functional bit. So the space that each of those modules takes up is going to need to shrink down considerably so that it actually fits into his foot and still does. I don't know if I can do that. I'm sure Shape Daddy thinks I can. Weren't those printed per Prusa have a more accurate version? Wait, what? Weren't those printed pre-Prusa have a... which parts, Tony, are you referencing? Which parts are more accurate, or should be more accurate now if I reprinted them? Backhoes? I'd like a mega noodle with legs made from backhoes. I don't know what a backhoe is, but I like the sound of that. And Damien, you said you're a walking bicycle? So like you pedal and then it like walks like a quadruped or however. I like the idea of that too. Oh, the mechanical feet? Yes, the feet that exist right now were entirely printed on the MakerBot. Because we didn't get the Prusa until the end of that, or the beginning of last year. So yeah, like if I were to reprint a lot of the old feet, they'd probably work a little bit better just because the parts would not be as shitty. But yeah, I think I can shrink a lot of it down. I also have different ideas about how I'd make each of the systems do what they're supposed to do at this point in time, because I've had a year to meditate on all of that, all of my failures from the previous year. You can actually see them. Whoop, right there. That's the old feet. They're up on the top of Noodle's room shelf. But they're gonna need to take up a 3 by 6 inch volume, and they're gonna chuck onto Noodle's feet kind of like shoes. So there's going to be like a universal connector that any of the foot modules can chuck into, and then that'll just be like the foot attachment that he's using for the moment. Kind of like the way actual like machines work, like Kukas. There's the Kuka robot, and then you just stick some attachment onto the end of it, and that's what it does for the moment. Noodle's gonna work in much the same way. His feet are going to be modular, so based on whatever it is that he wants to be doing at the moment, he can put those feet on, and that will be what he do. So that is probably going to involve simplifying a lot of the systems and not overthinking them, which kind of sucks because those are wonderfully complex and fun to look at, but they're probably not necessary. Like, I think one of those has like a clutch system in it. It's like a weird helical, rotating corkscrew clutch bean hopper with transparent, like, cavities that go up the side, and beans are supposed to travel up them, and it's like, they're fun little micro machines, but they don't work very well, and they're kind of clunky, and there's a lot of points where failure can happen, so I need to kind of work smarter and not harder. Watching... Oh, thank you! Thank you, Karate Pork Chop. That's a great name, by the way. The walking bicycle have been done before, but I still want to make one anyway. How many motors does each of Noodle's legs have? I think making a walking bicycle is a great idea, because that would be a fun mechanical thing to just experiment with and learn from. And to answer your question, Noodle's legs have 2 motors each right now, so he has a total of 8 in his legs, and then a 9th motor for his eye gantry, which is, it's the thing that makes him back bottom heavy, because it's in the back. He's got back. Again, we were thinking of adding another motor to each of the legs to have the foot kick out, but we decided against that. Or I decided against that. I don't think it's necessary right now. Maybe eventually, but not now. I think we can do it with 2. Maybe. I don't know if you'll ever be able to move very gracefully with 2, though. We'll see. Anyhow, but yeah, I don't know. I'm debating ending the stream soon because I can't really get this to any further point of fruition other than printing the rest of the pieces and assembling it, but then it's just going to, like, exist. So I probably will finish it and then post pictures of it on Twitter and give the verdict of whether or not it works the way that I expected, because I still don't know whether or not this design is even going to do what it's intended to do. So, I'll let you know. I can still actuate it with my hands, regardless of whether or not I have the motor controllers to control the motors with. So I'll let you know if mechanically it does what it needs to, which is, again, the leg in one position needs to be folded up, like, kind of like this, as tight as it can go. And then in the other position, it should be at about here. So if I can achieve this range of motion, roughly, then I'm good. And as soon as I can get footage of that working, I will definitely do so. Oh god, this camera's still running. Holy shit. Off. I have no idea how long it is. Oh well. I don't know if I'm gonna use any of that anyway. That's okay. So eventually I will do an actual, like, proper video that explains all of everything that I've said during this stream in, like, a minute or 2 and show what the goal is in doing all of this and how I eventually get it to work. Because again, the just to wrap this up, to state exactly what what I was trying to achieve by doing all of this. Noodle's leg looks like this right now, more or less. This is like the plastic version of it, but it moves up and down, and then it twists. The up and down motor, as it works, the motor is located here. There's like a little bracket at the top of his femur, and because of that, he's very top heavy. And the goal of redesigning the leg was to relocate the motor down here into his leg. And I've gone ahead and done that with a newer, stronger motor. It's right here. It's a new footprint that I had to kind of design for because I've never used these before. And there's like a clearance slot for the arm. It looks a little bit different than I expected, but it should work, I think. And this is going to lower his weight so that he has a little bit easier time balancing, because right now he's like a big pendulum. When he walks, he just kind of like sways like this, and he's in danger of falling. So I'm hoping that once more of his weight is lower, that isn't as much of an issue. And it'll also help him look more like he does in the drawings, because there won't be all of these big chunky motors located right below his neck, which is good. So it's something that's needed. He'll have better motors because these are a better quality motor than the ones that he has now. And it'll help him function better, look better, and just grow, I guess. But this was part of the process. If this works and I fine-tune it and it looks like this is what it's going to be, I'll post footage or video of it doing what it's supposed to do, and then the next step will be to replace all these parts with aluminum ones, or at least some of them with aluminum ones, so that they're solid and they don't flex or bend or anything like that. So in the near future, that is going to be a thing that needs to happen. Yep. Is everybody on the same page? That's where we're at. I'll probably stream again soon once I have a goal-oriented task ahead of me. The reason why I don't stream as often is because I do like a bunch of different things in a day, and it's not like one thing that has like a beginning and an end, and it feels like if I stream I should have like a goal. So the next time I have a goal, I'll probably do another one of these, and we can chat and hang out. Shape Daddy says carbon fiber and titanium also. Yes. Yes. Should I show off the pieces? Shape Daddy got Noodle titanium, like space grade titanium pieces for Christmas. They're scraps, but they're still titanium. They're like bean shaped, but something will be made out of these too. I just don't know what, because it's fancy and it needs to be something like really important and good and worthy of titanium. So yes, Noodle will have titanium, space titanium pieces, and maybe even carbon fiber. I don't even know how to cut carbon fiber. I'm guessing it's the same as metal. He will get space bits. He is gonna be a space baby. He's gonna be a space grade baby. And then he'll go romp on Mars. You can do some stuff with composites without having to bag it over foam core. Or even 3D printed cores. Wait, what do you mean? To bag it over foam cores? I don't know what you mean, Damien. By foam cores? Like tap dancing and mask making? Oh, yes, mask making and tap dancing. Oh, don't talk crap. I know. I said I would tap dance and stream, and I totally haven't. Like, right after I made the floor, it got really cold here, and I just sort of went into nest mode, and I haven't been out in my freeform raptor mode to do any of that stuff, but it's still out there. Once it gets a little bit warmer during the day, probably now is a good time, I can go out there and tap. And once I get my confidence level high enough, I'll stream it, and you can see how terrible or good I am at doing the tap dancing. because I don't even really know at this point how well I'm going to fare doing any of that. The mask making is something I would like to get back to. It's just another project, and in the face of Shibon and Noodle, it's not as important to me right now. And those two things are kind of, I don't know, they have more precedence at the moment. Shibon, the content of Shibon is where my heart is at, and then Noodle is my kid, so he's always going to come first. So if when I do finish up Shibon, I think the next thing after that will be to revisit the mask project, because I still want to do that. It's just, I need like multiple lives worth of time to get to everything I want to do. And the oil painting, as was brought up as well. Because I want to get back to that as well. And I want to draw more. Sorry, anyhow. But yeah, titanium. Smells like metal. About not wanting to stream when I don't have a well-defined plan, but I've been a bit more comfy just guessing when I rate stream titles nowadays. I mean to like ask you about that. I see Scanlime, you stream a lot. Like you are often doing just I guess streams showing whatever it is you happen to be working on in the day, whatever that might be. And I was going to ask you how that flow works for you, because I consider doing the same thing, just like saying, hey, I'm gonna be doing stuff and see how it goes. But I don't know. For me at least, like I feel like it would either help keep me on task better, or I would just sort of meander into some like dead end thing and then bore everybody to death, and I'm afraid to do that. I'm not entirely sure. I should probably just try it and see how it works for me. But it's rough because my normal workday is not a defined thing. I usually work on 4 different things, and to like weird degrees as such. And then I just end up kind of reading articles on the internet often too. I'm not sure. It's rough. And then there's like the entertainment factor. Like there's some amount of setup that goes into getting this even started in a day. And I don't know, I run out of things to say. I guess it's not required that I like keep telling stories and everything, but like since this is social, like streaming seems in part inherently social, I should keep like talking to everybody. That's the point. I think that's what makes it different than just creating set video content. But you think I would have sort of figured this out over the past year, and I kind of haven't. It's work. Everything's work. But anyhow, Noodle's gonna be high-tech. Noodle's gonna be the most high-tech, eventually. Cold nest mode. Yes, it is cold nest mode. And the winter is supposed to be my break month. Like I'm supposed to take like my year break because everything slows down and ends. And I don't know. There's pros and cons to taking the winter off, I guess. I think I did it the right way this year for like the first time in my life. Next mode, I feel that. Yeah, it is nest mode. Oh, thank you, Andy. Andy says that he appreciates the sex-positive attitude and whatnot, and I'm happy to hear that. That's, like, really important to me right now. Like, I think, in light of everything that's going on in the world, like, the thing that is most important to me is to just be positive and promote communication is all. I think if everyone communicated more, we'd have a lot less problems and disagreements and weirdness socially as a people. But yeah, sex positivity is super important to me. Foam core. This is how I have done race bike frames. Okay, I know what you mean, Damien. I've also tried around 3D printing because okay. The flow is hard, it's not easy to start, there's a huge activation energy, and that's a lot of why the streams happen when they do. I understand that. It's like you have to be in like a specific headspace to like even get into streaming, which if I'm not there, then it's just not gonna happen. So I see that. It's weird, it does take a certain energy, which in like this whole winter I've just not had it. I've been in like, I don't know where I've been. I've been stand out in Turkey in the backyard mode. That's kind of where I've been. But since it's the beginning of the year, a lot of this spring is going to involve applying for stuff again, because that's what you do in the spring if you're me. So I don't know when I'll stream next. I have a lot of like really boring practical stuff to do. That is sort of first priority at the moment. Writing. Composites you need to. I try to have the option to switch topics or end the stream if things don't go well, but yeah, switching topics can make it hard for viewers and for me in editing. Yeah, it's a lot to explain. Like, I think if I streamed a whole workday with as many of the different things that I worked on in a day, I would have to explain each thing each time so that everyone was on the same page with what I was doing and why I was doing it, and that would be weird, I think. Maybe it wouldn't, I don't know, I should just try it, right? This morning watching to have a bunch of projects to do. Yeah, winter is a weird thing. I think like biologically there has to be some component functioning to cause that. It seems like everyone kind of goes into hibernation mode socially a little bit once it starts getting cold like it is. It's like the darkness makes me tired earlier. My energy is just not as... It's not there for me to take when I need it. It's not readily available like it is in the summer, and I just don't feel like it's effort to be social on this level in the winter, whereas in the spring and summer I'm just sort of there, ready to do it in a way that I just am not now. I guess one thing is to not force it if it isn't there. Or maybe you're supposed to force it, I don't know. It's all whatever, I guess. Takes all my energy just to actually execute on stuff. It does feel a bit like trying to swim with one's head underwater. Yes. What happened to Shiban? It's still there. I've been working on testimony. I think the last 2 videos that I released regarding Shiban are specifically about my feelings surrounding the project. And there's a lot of that there. I just have to kind of decide what... the hell? Oh. I have to decide what's important to say, and say it. Mailman rang the doorbell. That never happens. I have other things, like other augments that I'm going to make for Shiban that I want to make, but it's going to involve attention and planning and process, and once I get into it, it's going to take all of my attention. So since I'm making really good progress on Noodle right now, I figured I might as well stick with that, since it's just sort of working, and not try to pry my attention away from something that I'm just sort of making progress on. The next augment I'm going to start is going to involve my neck, and it's going to involve casting and air pressure and a bunch of weird stuff like that. It's not weird, but it's stuff that I don't typically work with, and it's going to take some trial and error, as they all do. But once I start on it, I want to be able to invest 100% of myself in it. So, again, I don't want to break my attention away from Noodle. So right now it's just getting Noodle to walk, at least for another month, week, 2 weeks, I don't know. However long it takes, however long it lasts. That's another thing. I always say this, I try not to like force things. So if this is how the energy is flowing naturally, then I will let it flow that way. But I still have half of Shiban to get going. Oh, hi Vigray! Sorry. Hi. Welcome to the stream. I'm just about to end it though. Shit. I can talk for a minute longer. I'm gonna show Vi because he's here. I'm making new Noodle legs. He's getting new legs with new motors, and his lift motor is going down into his leg, meat, thigh piece. And it has this weird, like, bulge at the bottom. But it's gonna work, I think, maybe. Or it won't. But he's getting new gams. I just wanted to show you. I hope you're doing well. Where was I? What happened, during the winter? Yes. We're talking about how in winter no one feels like doing anything. It's just a universal, like, hibernation thing, I guess. Yes. What happened with... Yes. Scanlime, yes, I agree. Like, I have like 10 things started, or I like will start things and announce them, and then things will get difficult, and then, or they'll get dropped for some other reason. Like, I have, like, my attention will be forced to go in another direction, and then it just gets left behind for a period of time. It's like, that kind of happened with the masks last year. It was like, I was like, Shiban and the masks, and I cared more about Shiban, and then once that took hold, it was like I went in that direction, and that was just how it was. It's like the other project isn't gone, it's just, it's something I'll have to get back to eventually when the energy is right, when it is ripe. But yeah, I have to follow the energy. Frozen. How is the frozen? Is it still frozen? Are you still getting snow there? I'm sure they are. It's January. Everywhere's getting snow still. Aw. No, I'm glad you could make it. Scanlime. This is like the first one I've done in a while, so I'm happy that you made the first one back, because it feels like I'm coming out of hiatus. So I'm kind of catching up on things. I guess, yeah, the two main things that I'm working on this year that I've decided are important are finishing the other half of Shiban, like the actual functioning half of Shiban, and then getting Noodle to walk well on his own. So I'm gonna either be working on one or the other for now until things happen. That changes. I guess the other thing to state or make known is that in the beginning of the year, I apply for a bunch of stuff, like grants and residencies and things, and depending on if I get any of those things, I have to focus on stuff that I proposed doing, and I then have responsibilities, and if those are different from where my energy is, I still have to kind of drop stuff and then go in another direction. And if that's going to happen, it usually happens at the beginning of spring. So a lot of the time, if I'm going in this direction and steadily making progress on a project, and then I suddenly go off into the woods, it's usually for that reason. There's usually a practical life explanation for it. So that might happen again come March, April, as it always tends to do. But that's life. And I'm starving. Like, I definitely want to have baked potatoes tonight. Aw, Chris, if you're sleepy, you should go to sleep if you're tired. When you put an exploration of sexuality, the mind, and technology together, and fuels are how I learn new things and grow. Yes. I also want to get Shiban done to a point where I can start wearing more of it, because right now it doesn't feel like I have enough
of the augments together to have a complete ensemble. Not that fashion is the point or anything, but I think it is my intent to eventually have an actual suit that I can wear out that, like, has an appeal to it aesthetically. I don't know what that means yet. It's still, like, trying to find it, like, come into its own as a thing, and I don't think it's there yet. But it's coming along. I still have, like, 4 of the augments to even design, and I don't really know what they're gonna be. Like, I think over the summer I announced, oh, I'm gonna make this spank skirt thing. And I still have no idea how I'm going to mechanically achieve that. Like, I have ideas, but I still don't even really know what that is going to look like. I've made a girdle for it. Like, I've actually hand sewn a girdle with boning and everything in it, and it's complete. And that's the thing that the electronics and the hardware are going to mount onto. It's made for that, but I don't know what that component is going to be because I haven't sorted out how it's going to work yet. And I think a lot of the ideas for the rest of the project are in that state of, like, so it's just, I don't know, it's a time thing, I guess. It's complex. Sex tech on the, I don't know. I think it's been one of the, for me, doing the exploring sex tech and being public about it, at least in my experience for the past year that I've done Shibon, has been it's been a really positive experience. It's felt healing, because I've found that other people relate to it, and their willingness to talk about how they relate to it helps make the world feel like less of a lonely, large place that's often isolating. It makes some of the more painful parts of the human condition feel less painful, if that makes any sense. So it's been a good thing so far for me. And I'm very excited to make the rest of the project because I'm curious to see what sort of dialogues it will be the catalyst of, and experiences for that matter. Yeah. But again, Noodles first. Noodles kind of, he needs to walk. Something people on the outside say to folk in situations. I know, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get, like, this close. If I click on this and do the Apple Plus thing, will it zoom in? Ah, it will. Perfect! Okay, I just made the text really big and I can read it from back here. There. But yeah. As far as the bravery thing goes, it's an interesting thing to say. Brave. It doesn't feel brave so much as necessary. I don't know. If it's something you want to do, you do it, and there isn't really a question of it being scary anymore. Or at least for me, there was like a point of committal where once I realized it was something I wanted to do, it did. Like, it happened. And whatever it entailed, it wasn't anything I was afraid of at that point. At least that's how it was in the beginning. There's like a process. I wrote this article all about how I got to the point where I wanted to even create the project. It was kind of like outlining this series of events that led me to get to the headspace where I consciously said, hey, I'm going to make this thing and it's going to be about this. And I wrote it,
And then I'm just sitting on it, because I'm trying to decide whether or not it's even necessary to put out there as a thing. I don't know if it's even important that I disclose any of that, but it kind of goes hand in hand with all this testimony that I'm doing right now, because it kind of explains in some part where my head is at to do any of this stuff. Again, I don't really know if it's necessary, it just feels like maybe it is. Or at times it feels like maybe it is. I don't know. I'm still leaning over. But yeah. Gotta follow the energy. But it's 3 hours now that I've been streaming, and it's almost 4 o'clock, which means in another half an hour the sun is going to be down. 4 is usually, if I'm gonna stand and turkey it out in the yard, which is something that I usually do, at least at some point in time during the day, it's now, because the sun hasn't necessarily gone down below the shed and back yet, but it's about to, and I can get some vitamin D and enjoy the sun doing its sun thing. You can actually kind of see the sun starting to come in through the window. It's right here. So in another like 5 minutes, it's going to be in this perfect sweet spot where it's below the awning that's outside the window right here in front of me, but it's above the barn in the back of the yard. So there's like this swath, this like sweet spot where the sun kind of like drifts through this strip, and it just fills this workroom full of like really bright light. You can see it, it's coming fast. So I'm probably gonna end the stream here, because I'm gonna turn into like a washed out white shadow thing. A white shadow thing. What? And I'm gonna go make some chamomile and stand in the backyard and enjoy that cold Vegas winter weather for a minute, and then decide what I'm gonna do next with this leg. So yeah. On Twitter, if you will follow me on Twitter, I will post pictures of this fully assembled, and I will probably get a quick video clip of it working or not working, and you'll get the verdict soon. I think it's gonna work. And oh, I need to post my Discord. If you are in here and you aren't part of the Discord cool people hangout chat thing, I'm gonna post the link because I love my Discord. I love the people in it. We have the best conversations. Copy? Here. Join. Yay. Come hang out with us. It's a good time. I'll try to find a task thing to do that will allow me to stream again soon, and I will do so. Or maybe I'll even stream the next walking session whenever that happens. It'll be at nighttime, and it will involve a bunch of people surrounding Noodle and giving him a bunch of attention, and it will be fun. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy, or whatever day it is, I don't know. If it's some other day, enjoy that day, and I'll see you next time. Oh my gosh, it's my mom. Perfect timing. All right, I'm gonna take her call or call her back. All right, thank you for joining me. Thank you for keeping me company. I love you guys. Take care.